Alright guys, welcome back to
Honey, they
Dark
never asked us, but-
Heresy Hour... What the fuck am I trying to say? Dark Heresy Hour number 3. Sorry to cut you off there, Jeff.
He appears to be speaking in High Gothic. I don't understand.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
my bad. Sorry.
No problem, no problem. Okay, I think we're going to TB and Steve.
Yeah, so TotalBiscuit, Engelbart, Kappa, what are you aiming to get out of your visit to the Adeptus Mechanicus Spire?
I'm looking to get some mechadendrites installed, if possible, and also I wish to use their facilities to analyze the picked feed that I just copied for anything out of the ordinary.
Awesome, cool. Let's see here. Maybe you can help me out. Do you know off the top of your head how much mechadendrites cost?
Yeah, I do. They cost, well, the one that I'm after costs 500 Throne Gelt, conveniently.
Hey.
And I'm looking to install a utility mechadendrite.
That's on page 153, right? Let's see here.
156 specifically for utility mechadendrite.
Duh, God.
Yep, there it is. How could I not know? Yep,
Idiot.
awesome. Mechadendrites.
Idiot.
So today, the last session of Dark Heresy, as we see the party torn limb from limb. Where were we? Yes. Manipulator mechadendrite, right? Or utility mechadendrite.
Utility
Yep.
mechadendrite.
Beautiful. Okay, yeah, you make your way up to the Mechanicus Spire. And actually, there's a couple of checkpoints along the way where you have to speak in binary cant to pass.
Okay.
And you actually just bought that with your last upgrade, right?
Conveniently enough, yes. I just
Beautiful.
happen to have picked up binary can.
Cool. So yeah, there's no problem getting you through these checkpoints, and anybody who looks at you can see that you're obviously an initiate in the
A mechrite,
Adeptus
specifically.
Mechanicus. Yeah, mechrite. Cool. So yeah, you get in, and it's really reassuring space to be in. It's more confined corridors, and there's all sorts of people walking around with like mechadendrites coming off of them, and steel tentacles and stuff like that. Most everybody has their face almost completely obscured by like tubes and stuff. Vox communicators drilled into them.
Finally, we're among normal people.
Yep. And you managed to make your way to one of the forges after speaking briefly with a couple of tech priests who direct you to the right location. And they say that, yes, it will be possible to fit you with a mechadendrite. Now, I think it costs, like, I mean, it's a fairly intense operation to fit you with these things, right?
Generally speaking, the thing about the cybernetics is that a tech priest is already kind of sorted out for that kind of thing because of the stuff that he's already got.
Yeah.
So it's not like replacing your like arm when you don't have any other bionics or anything like that. So
Yeah.
seems feasible.
Let's see. I'm just taking a look. Do you know where it, like, is there a benefit from being a tech priest that allows you to get these quicker? It says there's a recovery time of 2d10 days.
Wow.
Minus 1 day for each point of your toughness bonus.
Yeah, which
I mean,
might be doable, but it might not be. Not in the middle of a mission.
I feel like you're in the Adeptus Mechanicus Spire, so they have some skill that you would normally not find. You're a tech priest, so I'd say that it's half 2d10 minus twice your toughness bonus in days.
All right. That sounds.
Do you want to go
fairly
for that?
reasonable. We can do that. I don't see why not.
Okay, so roll me the 2d10.
All right.
Here we go.
Fighting.
And it's going to take a minimum of 1 day.
Snake eyes. That's not bad.
7, half of that is 3. Twice your toughness bonus is like 6. So you get out of there that evening.
Yeah.
You're
What can I
ready to
say?
go.
Outpatient
I man my way
service, yeah.
through it.
Yep. Awesome.
Nice and easy. Take a few painkillers, I'll be all right.
Yeah, so let me see. It counts as a combi tool, granting you a +10 bonus to all tech use tests.
Yep.
It houses 6 injector pistons, each of which may be filled with 1 dose of sacred oil.
Wow.
What
Yeah.
the fuck
You
does
can
that do?
gust incense fumes over troublesome faults.
Quite literally blow perfume over things.
You can fart on them.
Yep. You can blow
It's a
smoke
mechanized
off the
fart.
ass
Actually
of
smart.
any machine. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I imagine an awesome scenario where Engelbart is emitting a horrific sound and farting on people while running around.
This is
Stabbing
He's
them.
a farting Skrillex.
really
He just
amusing.
Drop the bees.
So, hopping back over to Jax, Fricks, and Eli, what are you trying? What's your aim here at House Ophaly?
We looked to Jax for that. He was the one that got us up and wanted to go.
Well, we after we're done shopping, we make our way to the matron of Phaedrus.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
we're going to need some of your... we're going to confront House Ophaly now on the abduction of your daughter, but also it ties into our investigation. So if you could give us the full support of your house guard, that'd be fantastic.
She says, absolutely. What evidence do you have that House Ophaly is behind all of this?
We interrogated one of the men that was involved in the abduction of your daughter, and she said as much, or he said as much, excuse me. We're not sure why they abducted your daughter. That's something that we'll have to find out as well, and we could do that on behalf of your family. In fact, that'll be part of the cover for this, because we're also investigating something else that I'm not necessarily at liberty to share at this moment.
I understand. I'm not certain that a frontal assault is the wisest course of action at this
We're
point.
not doing
in
a frontal
time.
assault. We're going to knock on their door and serve them up our suspicions and tell them that we need to have a chat. Last time they weren't so forthcoming.
She sort of smiles very simperingly, and she says, Jax. How old are you, Jax? 30, mid-30s? You look
I'm a dashing 33.
yes, dashing. And you spent your life until now where? Where was it again that you hail from?
Kashkan. It's a death world.
Katachan, yes. She sort of smiles at you sweetly, and she says, Jax, dearest, Ophaly is one of the oldest houses in Highview Traxxas. They are expert deceivers and liars. They will welcome you with open arms. They will tell you everything that you need to know, and you will walk out of there completely assured that they have done absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah. So what do you recommend then?
We need harder evidence, Jax. I want my daughter avenged. I want the people that did this to her, that have targeted my family, I want them to face justice, the Emperor's justice. But if we play our cards too early, Jax, it will all fall apart. Now, I believe you. I know in my heart of hearts that Ophaly family is behind this, especially with Law 178 being passed. That was a sticking point between myself and Governors Zarya Theopoia, and I can't help but think that Theseus Ophaly orchestrated the kidnapping of my daughter to put me off of my course. But fortunately, for your intervention, we were able to press forward and ratify the law. That puts me at an advantage and Ophaly at a disadvantage. It comes to mind that he may act soon. Perhaps we wait and see what he does.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just, I have Lupus on my Vox channel, so with your word, of course, he can help aid us if we need it, right?
Yes, absolutely. By all means.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
I need to have a word with the lady of the house.
She smiles at you. She says, yes, Fricks.
Well, as you know, the task to rescue your daughter was a tough one on our party, and frankly, I lost everything. And I'm trying to get equipped to your barracks. The 500 gelt was a very generous reward, but I'm asking for an additional 100 gelt so I can be fully equipped and we can avenge your daughter.
That's a good speech. Will you give me a charm test? That's against half of your fellowship.
All right.
Good luck.
So you got to roll
This is where I
16.
bat my
16,
eyelashes.
yeah.
I have to roll 16 or less.
Around
Yep.
there. Or something.
Well, you get this is the partial success from 16 to.
Never mind, Steven.
Right.
As she says this,
I
like
want money
all over
now.
a rat's tail
I'm
is like
supposed
hanging.
to do anything at all. Right?
Wow.
Cheap, you know what I'm saying?
She smiles at you and she says, I'm afraid our coffers are not quite that free. We do run a tight business here, and we need to make sure that we stay profitable so that we can keep our position in the noble houses. Maybe there's something else I can do for you. What is it you're trying to acquire?
I'm trying to acquire some very, very fine xenomesh and mesh cowl that appears to fit me perfectly. Upon talking to the fellow who runs the armor, he gave it to me, but I found that I was just 100 gelt short.
She nods sagely and she says, I'll send him a writ of promise. And we don't have the money for him right now, but we will give him the money in the future. He should accept it. I'll send it with you, in fact. He should accept this, and if there are any more trouble with him, send him to me.
Great.
She
Thank you.
She snaps her fingers, and a servitor walks in, bearing a golden tray with a notepad on it. She takes a paper and she scrawls she fills out some data on this form, and she hands it to you. And she
All right,
says,
thanks
"Is there
kindly,
Thank you
anything
very
else?"
much. Yes.
Thank you.
No,
Then I
that's
walk
it.
the guys out of the room,
Okay.
and I say, Fricks, I want you to, I received word that they're actually doing a autopsy on the mutant thing,
Right.
and I'd like you to check in on that and see what they find, in case we can find some hard evidence that this mutant has any alignment to
Okay.
House Olafy. And Eli and I guess, will we can check in with the Arbitas who are supposed to be interrogating the captor from there, so that we can try to garner some more evidence as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sounds great. That captive, his name was Mithras, by the way.
Mithras. Very good.
So, let's go to the Fricks. You're amenable with this plan.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Let's see what's happening with the autopsy itself. You get directions from one of the servants, and they lead you to the mortician's chamber, which is down below the servants' halls of House Ophelia, House Phaedrus. You're led up to the door, and you can hear activity from inside. You hear two low voices murmuring to each other. The door itself is just a large steel door with frosted glass window in the middle, and you can see a bright white light pouring out of this door.
Okay. I'll knock.
You bang on the door a couple of times, and the door opens, and there's an older gentleman standing there with a very gaunt face and long gray hair, and he says, "Can I help you?" His gray hair is actually pulled back in a ponytail. He says,
yes,
"Can I help
you can.
you?"
Yes, you
Yes.
can. I've been sent to get word on exactly what you've discovered from this autopsy, and I hope that you can divulge all this information so I can report back to my party.
He says, I'm terribly sorry, my lady. Who are you representing?"
Well, I represent the house of God damn it, Phaedrus. And at this moment, and we are investigating the kidnapping of the daughter, who was successfully returned by us, and we believe that
He says, yes, you must be Fricks Pilgrim.
that's right.
Yes, come in, come in.
That's right.
He says, "My name is Mortician Victus." He points over to the table, where on the table there's this frosted-looking monster with 7 arms, and half of his jaw looks like some sort of alien. And he gestures to the other gentleman. He says, "This is Mortician in training Rax. Please, by all means, we've begun the autopsy. Would you care to join us?"
As long as I don't get too messy, yes, absolutely.
He walks over to a locker and he opens it. He pulls out a huge, thick leather gown, drapes it over the front of you, and he says, "Just let me tie this in the back like this." It ties it tightly around your waist. He says, "There. Now then, we can get started."
How much AP is this? No, I'm just kidding.
It's probably one.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. Thank
one
you.
primitive. He says, "Yes, we've already begun the autopsy. And as far as we can tell, this is simply a mutant man. There is no Xenos heritage to him at all." And Rax sort of, he's very intent on his work. He sort of glances over to you and he nods curtly and he looks back down to his work.
Can you tell me anything about any markings he might have had, anything that might identify who this man has worked for or who this mutant works for, where it came from?
He says, "Yes, we have been looking through his effects, and we recovered a data slate which is encrypted, but perhaps someone more technically advanced would be able to decrypt it and let us know what its contents has. Do you wish to take this into your possession?" He sort of grabs it from a nearby table and holds it up in front of you.
Yes, this is very helpful. We have someone who can recover the data from this data slate, so thank you.
Good, good. Yes. Would you care to look inside the body cavity?
Yes, I would.
And
My morbid
Rax-
curiosity.
Rax
It sounds
sort
too
of shuffles
enthusiastic about
aside, and Victus begins sort of shuffling through the various organs that he's sort of clipped out of their locations, cinched off the ends of them wherever they attach. And he says, "Yes, here we have the liver. As you can see, it's grotesquely enlarged, and it has these strange little dangly appendages on it." And he's sort of, puts it to the side and picks out, "Yeah, this is the spleen. Why don't you give me an awareness check?"
Okay.
Ooh, what's your perception?
My perception is 34.
Yeah, I'll let you ask one of these questions here on this handout that I gave you all.
Okay. You mean on the non-combat move one?
Yeah. There's an awareness, read a situation or investigate a scene, and there's a list of questions, and I'll let you ask one of those questions about what's going on.
Okay.
Not that one.
What? Yeah, no, to either of the guys, I guess.
This is actually out of character. You're discerning this information by observing.
Okay. Well, I mean, I want to know what I need to be on the lookout for.
You should be on the lookout for any organs that are out of the ordinary. Like
Okay.
his external appearance is so heavily mutated. Maybe there's something inside of him that would give you a stronger clue. You're not an anatomy expert, but if you could find something obvious, that might help.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've taken out the liver and the spleen so far.
Yeah. So you're digging your hands in there, and you notice that Mortician in training Rax is starting to sweat a little bit, despite how cold it is in this room.
Really, really turned on with this whole process.
The
And
chest is like winched open with some huge like claw arm thing, and yeah.
so at this point, if I'm sort of noticing Rax sweat, I'm going to start aggressively asking Mortician Victus the location of organs that I know about, just to observe when perhaps Rax is getting more nervous.
Yeah, you start putting these questions to Victus, and he says, "Yes, well, here's the stomach, and here's the lower intestine, and here is the anus, and what did you have any others that you wanted?"
What
Yes,
about the
here's
heart?
Here is the heart. He pulls out the heart, and then he notices. He says, "Wait, why, this is very strange. And he puts the heart aside and sets it down. And he looks behind the heart. And actually, you can see, like, the aortas and the blood vessels have all been tied off, but there's like an extra pair of tubes down there that have also been tied off. And he says, well, and he sort of fingers it. He says, Mortician Rax, what did we remove from here? Where is this organ? And Mortician Rax, he just sort of like, sweat is basically pouring down his face now, and he takes one step backwards and he just collapses. And Victus says, "Oh, this is most unusual, most perturbatory, I might even say."
Victus, did you perform this autopsy? Is it possible that someone touched this body without your consent or knowing?
Well, I believe it is very possible that someone touched this body without my consent or knowing, and I believe that person is right here on this floor. I believe Rax has removed something from this
Can
gentleman.
we just hire this guy? He's got way better investigatory skills than anyone else here.
Only in internal organs. If you're looking to investigate internal organs, Victus is your guy.
Well, I've got a few grenades. We can investigate some internal organs if you like.
So I want to take this individual at least into custody, at least bind them,
Okay.
Rax, and then I'm going to Victus, is there any sort of surveillance around here? I would think that you guys would have something that could show us what potentially Rax removed.
Yeah, well, he helps you. He grabs a couple, cords, and he helps bind Rax's hands, puts him in a chair in the corner. He's just completely passed out. He says, "Yes, of course, yes. For every autopsy, I activate the picked sensors. Let us go and recover them and look through the data."
Can we do that from here?
Yes, it is in fact the next room over.
Okay, well, I want to take Rax with us, but at the same time, I feel like I need to notify Jackson Eli of the information. Guys, we have we found something. Not only we recovered a data slate, but apparently the mortician in training Rax has taken something from the body that was attached to the heart. We're investigating the pictosensors, but perhaps if you want to interrogate Rax or see if you can get more information out of him, that is an option.
Okay, let's go and see what Jax and Eli have been up to in the meantime, while you are poring over the picked data with Mortician Victus. So, Jax, what are you up to? You're going to investigate, interrogate Mithras, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you go to the House Phaedrus Enforcer block, which is directly connected to the barracks. It's basically right next door, and Lupus gives you access to Mithras's cell.
All right. Before we walk in the cell, I turn to Jax. I'm like, "What are we doing? Good guy, bad guy here? What's the plan?"
I suspect they've done some interrogating themselves, and we'll inquire about that. And if we'll certainly ask them some questions between the two of us.
Yep.
We'll just get the question. We'll get the answers from him. I'm not worried. I mean, 2 bad guys, 2 good guys, whatever it takes. He was putty in our hands last time, so I hope it's the same.
Okay. Sounds good. Then we go into the cell.
Awesome. He looks up and he recognizes you, Jax. He says, "Oh, hello."
Yeah. Hello. It would seem that we need some pretty hard evidence on you guys working for House Olafai. As was agreed previously, we've talked about getting you to be in service to the Emperor to rectify your misdeeds, and I know that you were led astray, so if you are working with us on this, and I would even move as far as to say if you can provide us with hard evidence in one way or another, or direct us in the direction of finding it, I could even see about reducing your service to perhaps the Imperial Guard as opposed to just being a servitor or something like that.
His eyes actually sort of light up at this. And he says, "Oh, I've always wanted to join the Imperial Guard. I have always had so many obligations. I've never had the chance to. Yes, of course I'll help. I've offered as much help as I can. My testimony is not sufficient." And he just
Your
looks
testimony,
sort of.
it's a good place to start. But if you have any data slates or if you know of a contact, or we need something that we can give to House Phaedrus and say, there is nothing except for this that proves that House Olafai was a part of the problem.
Let me see here. He can definitely give you something. I've got to dig through a couple of documents to find exactly what he knows. Yeah, he says, he sort of looks around and he says, this is all about planetary governor Zarya Theopoia. I don't know a lot more than I've told you. In fact, I only know one more name, and it is Zarya Theopoia's personal bodyguard. Her name is Ela Tyrannus. She is not working with House Ophioli. She is loyal to Zarya Theopoia, but she is a target. And I wish...
So you're saying the governor's in on this as well?
No, sorry. The governor is not in on this. The governor is the ultimate target of this.
Ah.
It's all a feud between Zarya and Theseus Ophioli, who has long felt that House Ophioli is a great noble house that has always deserved to hold the title of planetary governor, but for all his political connections here on Samson IV, he's never been popular with the Lords of Terra.
What about this bodyguard? What does Allah Tyrannus have to do with
Her
this?
name is Ela Tyrannus.
Ella.
Yes, she is. I believe that she is a target, and there is another man in service to House Ophioli who will be in line to replace Ela Tyrannus.
Ah, okay.
His
This has been
name.
most helpful.
His name is Ruck Thurstrom. He lives with House Ophioli. He is a bodyguard who works for them, but he is also a personal friend of Zarya. If something were to happen to Ela Tyrannus, Ruck Thurstrom would be a strong candidate to replace her, and that would give House Ophioli immeasurable leverage over the planetary governor.
Jax, I think we need to be going and finding this Ella as soon as possible. I'm starting to worry that the plan is already in motion to take her out.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon that's a good piece of advice. This information is very helpful, but you don't have anything hard, any proof that... I mean, we're going to go and warn them, of course, to try to preserve lives, but if we had something to show them...
He holds his hands out and he says, "What I have is what you see. They've taken everything from me. But if you go and you find Ruck, I'm certain that he will have documents on his person that will implicate House Ophioli most extremely."
Where can we find this Ruck?
Well, he spends most of his time in House Ophioli, but every Thursday night he likes to go dicing.
Then dicing way shut... No, I'm just kidding. Okay, thank you. I'll see to it that you are treated very nicely, and I do believe... I mean, it'll take some time, paperwork and whatnot, but I think you should be able to serve the Emperor quite nicely as cannon fodder, so I do appreciate that.
His eyes fill with tears, and he sits up taller on the floor of his cell, and he clasps his hands together. He says, "Thank you, Jax Romulus. Thank you. You've saved me from a life of heresy."
Yeah, thank you as well. So I kind of walk out.
Let's find out what's going on with this data slate. Or not data slate, this pict feed that we're watching, that Fricks is watching.
Sure.
So Fricks, you're coming through the data slate, and there's not a whole lot going on. You see like a accelerated view of Mortician Victus and Mortician Rex coming into the room and preparing the body and splitting the chest open and clipping out all of the organs. They sort of shake their hands. Mortician Victus turns away and begins washing his hands, and you see Mortician Rax sort of look at Victus's back, look at the body, look at Victus, sort of peel apart the layers of internal organs, and he quickly grabs like a small case, just a small black plastic case, and he clips out what looks like a very small gland. and he puts it in this plastic case. And this happened at about 6 a.m. this morning. They got a really early start. So,
So,
for example, by
hold
now
on one
it's...
second. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to do this. Stop. Enhance.